Thank you for joining us today at IFFGD's 2021 virtual advocacy event. Today we are focusing on how to find Facebook support groups, and with us is Tara Williams and Staci Gruber from the Superior Mesenteric Artery Syndrome Research Awareness and Support Group. Thank you for being with us today, Ms. Williams and Ms. Gruber. Can you begin by sharing a little bit about your group?
Sure, and thank you so much for having us. This is such an honor, because we are such a small organization. Um, our Facebook group is just for people with SMAS. We try and keep just more so of a private setting so that they feel like they can share easier and they don't have to worry about physicians maybe being within the group and seeing what they have to say.
Hey, that is great. Can you tell me a little bit about how your SMAS research and support group began?
So my mom was in a car accident in 2011, and um, throughout the next year and a half, she drastically started losing weight, and um, she had gone to several specialty hospitals, and we couldn't get a diagnosis. And she kept saying, "You'll find out what's wrong with me when I'm dead," and they do an autopsy. Um, we had an ultrasound tech at her primary care physician who spent countless hours online researching and finally said, "Please go and do one more test. I think I know what this is." So my mom went and had a CT scan done, and the radiologist reported back, "She's fine." And we immediately just felt devastated. Like, okay, again, someone's telling us that nothing's wrong. Um, but we were able to ask, did they measure on her CT scan the aortic distance? And they hadn't. So the radiologist was willing enough to go back and look at the scan and finally said, okay, yes, she does have SMAS. And at that point, again, it had been a year and a half from her car accident, and she had lost 85 pounds. And, my dad had a good job, which was amazing. And it allowed us to be able to go to the Mayo Clinic and university hospitals, but there was no information out there. And when we got online, there was misinformation, and we had read a statistic that 1 in 3 people died, and I was in my early 20s and looking at my mom like, I can't lose my mom, she's my best friend. But she was the driving force to kind of keep me going, and okay, we need to do something about this. And so we buckled down, and it took us a long time. It took us, until 2015 to really get the paperwork started to begin the nonprofit. And we did it because,
Yeah, but why did we start the Facebook group?
well, we started the Facebook group again because of, we wanted to be in control of the information that was being presented. We didn't want it to get lost within the larger Facebook group that is on there. And it would allow us to kind of have more control, because the larger group wasn't okay with us sharing t-shirt fundraisers and research articles that we found were getting lost in the stream of things, because it is such a big group that just allows everyone. And so that's why we really wanted the smaller group, and we knew that we could also regulate all the misinformation that was out there.
I really believe in research, and so our group is focused on research. And you come to our group and you want to find out, why does a child, or how do you get a child better? You can look for research articles. There's a bunch of research articles about, a child with SMAS, and what do you do to get a child better, or what is the best surgery for somebody with SMAS. There's, I don't know how many research articles in our group. So, some people don't believe in research. That's all we have as far as, we want to promote research. We want to figure out how to raise funds for research. So that's part of our focus. But in our group, research is at the forefront.
That is such a great and important aspect of your group. And I feel like any type of information patients are getting should be research and fact-based. And that is so wonderful that that is such an important focus to you in your organization. And your story that got you there is so inspiring, how you went through those hardships and you just want to make it a better opportunity to find treatment, to raise awareness for other patients out there now and in the future. And I know you said research is your big focus, and that you also allow posting of different fundraisers and sales as well. Are there any other major focuses and key points for your SMAS group that you would like to point out?
Well, I mean, we definitely focus on helping the patients. It's something that a lot of other groups, I don't want to say fail at, but it's not their primary focus. So we really truly try to focus on connecting people, and it's like, hey, there's someone else with your condition that's within an hour away. Let's try and get you guys together so that you have closer support, and it's not just virtual. It's harder with COVID and everything, but we try to focus on Zoom meetings so that we can kind of meet people face to face that way, and it's not just all behind the keyboard. But we also really try to focus on patient support, whether that's financial or emotional. Both of us give out our personal cell phone numbers, and we tell people, I don't care what time of day it is. If you need me, reach out to me. If I can't help you or my mom can't help you, we have people that can help you. And we really try to emphasize that there is hope and that you're not alone. A lot of families don't understand this syndrome, and they tend to push the SMAS patient aside. And it can be very isolating.
So, yeah, people, the first thing they think is it's an eating disorder because people lose weight and they don't want to eat. It's painful to eat. And all you hear is just eat, eat. We don't eat because we don't want to. We don't eat because it's painful to eat. And so, families, a lot of times families don't understand that. And it's painful when your family doesn't get it. So it's, and sometimes we become people's only family because we understand that it's a thing that you don't eat because you can't eat. You physically can't eat. And that's
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's really devastating. I sit there and cry with people because they have no one. They're sitting at home isolated because no one gets it.
Their spouses have left, their parents have left, siblings, thinking that it's just for attention. And so, Staci has become Mama Staci, and I have people in Australia that feel like family, and so that's one thing that I love about our group is we become family and friends.
Well, we appreciate you as well, because we reach out to IFFGD to help find GI doctors who understand, and as well, because sometimes a person will go to a GI and my GI was looking on Google or
and talking more about your community and how you try to connect everyone, is there certain specific roles that you have established with your Facebook group?
Yes, especially now that it seems like Facebook is monitoring more of what is said, and we have seen groups being shut down. So in the past few months, we have definitely become a little more restrictive with some of our rules that we have. And that's unfortunate because we really try not to censor our members. The biggest rule that we have is no bullying. We don't put up with it. And unfortunately, it's just the negative side of the cyber world. But the other thing that we have really put an emphasis on is that we are not doctors. And so we cannot be giving out medical advice. We can say things that have worked for us or things that we have tried that didn't work, but we do not allow people to say, you need to stop that treatment. You can't do that. Because, again, that's something that Facebook is also censoring, but we don't want our patients to be liable for someone else doing something that is not beneficial towards them. One of the biggest things that we have had an issue with is positional therapy, where people need to try and be inverted or whatever, and that will cure them. And that's the other thing is we emphasize you can't advertise this as a cure. But we really try and put the disclaimers on there, because if someone tries something like positional therapy and they have gastroparesis, it's really detrimental to them and their health. And so we try and avoid that. And then the last big thing that we emphasize is the fact that what is said in the group stays in the group. We have seen that sometimes people go and copy the information, the post or whatever, and they send it to a physician. And that's detrimental to that patient's care and well-being. So we try and monitor that as best as we can. It's hard because, again, it's cyber world and we don't always know who might be doing that. But if we find out who is taking that information and sharing it outside of the group, they are removed. So we do care about our patients' privacy within our group.
That is so great that you put such an emphasis on really all in one, respecting the patients, respecting each other, and the research and the treatments, and making it a positive sharing platform for everyone. That is definitely so great and so important. And back to another topic we touched on earlier about how you refer people out to groups if it's not a resource you can directly provide. Are there any specific groups or type of groups in general that you tend to refer patients to or could recommend them to?
Yes, so of course the IFFGD is a big one, especially if it's someone that has other comorbid conditions, because I know that IFFGD has a larger network of GI physicians that specialize in these rare disorders. We send or suggest, I guess I should say, people to the Oli Foundation. It is for feeding tubes and supplies and nutrition, and
GPACT.
GPACT is another one, and then Mouse House. That's a foundation
For people with NALS, because that's another vascular syndrome that's shared with SMAS, NALS, and Nutcracker syndrome. So
yeah, and so they have, there's several Nutcracker support groups, but the group that we like the best is the Renal Nutcracker Syndrome Support Group, and that's affiliated with the Mouse House. I guess that's on there.
I think that's it. Sometimes I'll come across something if I find, something that that comes along my feed. It's like, oh, this is a really, really good group.
Or even
I share it with the groups and
right. Or even because within our community we do have, little pockets of SMAS groups, and so like if we know that there's a larger community within an area, like here in Texas, we have a separate little Texas support group, and the only thing that we really share in there is if any of us are going to be in another Warriors location, so that we can kind of meet up. And same thing with Australia. And so we do have smaller little pockets within the SMAS groups, but we always do a disclaimer like we're not affiliated with them, so we can't control what's said or done within those groups.
That is so great that you've got such a network on hand that you can easily recommend, and that anyone can come to you for those suggestions to really help, especially as you said, comorbid conditions. A lot of people with SMAS and really all GI conditions often have another condition or more on top of that. And that is such a great thing to have as a resource, to be able to help patients with all of their conditions they may be affected by and symptoms. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to share about your group, the Superior Mesenteric Artery Syndrome Research Awareness and Support Group. For those of you just joining us, we have with us Tara Williams, co-founder and president, and her mother, Staci Gruber, who's also co-founder of this organization. If you missed this talk or any other talks from IFFGD's 2021 virtual advocacy event, you can find this and others on IFFGD's webpage.
Thank you so much for having us.
thank you.
Thank you.